Welcome, everybody. Today we're going to be speaking to another of our authors from Deconstructing Whiteness, Empire and Mission. Today we'll be speaking to Peniel Rajkumar. So welcome, Peniel.
Thank you, Cal.
Could you introduce yourself, please?
My name is Peniel Rajkumar. I am from the Church of South India, but right now I work for an Anglican mission agency called United Society Partners in the Gospel. Before I joined USPG, I used to work for the World Council of Churches, leading the interfaith program. My research interests are in the area of Dalit theology, Christian ethics, interreligious engagement, and world Christianities, with a focus on decolonial perspectives. So I've been with USPG for 2 years now.
Thank you. So could you briefly describe what your chapter's about?
My chapter is on post-colonialism and restoring the ecumenical movement. As a context for my article, I have chosen the recently concluded Assembly of the World Council of Churches. So what I try and do in this chapter is to explore the different ways in which colonialism retains a persistent presence within our day-to-day realities in ways which are both deterritorialized and which retain an ubiquitous presence in the various spheres of our thinking, of our living. And I focus particularly, I zero in at the end of my article onto the ecumenical movement and mission in general, and then try and identify how this presence of colonialism and the pervasiveness of colonialism can be untangled and overthrown.
Thank you. So what made you take that particular approach to writing your chapter?
Having been part of the ecumenical movement and having worked for the World Council of Churches, what I realized was, despite all the liberative thrust that goes into some of the work of the ecumenical movement, the global ecumenical movement, sometimes people tend to be quite uncritical of colonialism, and there is a great degree of hesitation in exploring what post-colonial situations and a post-colonial world might look like from an ecumenical perspective. So there has not been much critical engagement with the legacies of colonialism and how still our mindsets have been shaped by perspectives which can be identified as being Eurocentric. And my thinking was that ecumenism cannot continue on this Eurocentric bias any longer. And what it might mean at this particular point of time, when there was an assembly that took place in Europe, for people to revisit the continuing influence of Eurocentrism on the ecumenical movement.
Thank you. So what would you say has shaped your social conscience?
As a liberation theologian, I think the perspectives of the margins is something that has shaped my social conscience, because as it has been acknowledged, margins have what is called this power of exposure, the exposure of the unjust systems that we inhabit the earth. But at the same time, they also have the power of disclosure, the power to disclose what God's kingdom, the fellowship of brothers and sisters and beyond, can look like in particular worlds. So how do we open ourselves to this critical way of exposing the injustices that we inhabit? And also, how can we take the cue from communities on the margins to follow God into a future where there is a fullness of life for all? That has been my anchor through this journey.
Thank you. So what do you think are the biggest challenges to both the church and the wider society in terms of creating frameworks for social justice?
on the one hand, I think the lack of critical awareness of the dynamics of power and the fact that colonialism has not just reordered the world, but has also given us the tools to understand this world, which means that we can hardly step out of the frameworks that colonialism has given for us to understand the unjust world that we inhabit. I think that is an important challenge. And the other problem that I find with the ecumenical movement and with Christian mission agencies is also what, as one of my friends from Korea, Professor Hoop Kim, has described as the original sin of triumphant Christianity, which he calls as hostility, HOST-ILITY, which is this will to play host always. So we want to be the ones who set the table for ecumenical engagement, for missional engagement always. And we haven't learned the humility of being guests at other people's tables and drinking deep from their spiritual wells and their wisdom. So to move beyond this hostility, the will to play host always, and to learn from the often othered margins, I think is one of the challenges for the ecumenical movement.
Thank you. So just to finish, what do you hope people will take from reading your chapter?
I'm hoping that everybody who will be able to re-story their own mission histories, the term that I use in my title, which I borrowed from the Tongan theologian Sione Havia. So I think to look at the story of our engagement in mission or ecumenism or in any form of Christian discipleship in a way which turns the tables of power and also helps us to widen the horizons of our thinking of mission in a way that is stretched by perspectives from the margins, however complex these margins are, and however difficult sometimes it might be to say that to distinguish between centers and margins. So to always be attentive to God's actions and God's will as it is reflected and revealed in the margins, and to follow that, I think is something that I hope can happen through restoring our own stories of mission.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Peniel. Thank you for sharing today. It was great to hear from you, and I hope people will look forward to reading your chapter when the book emerges. So thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you.